Well, Dills doesn't get to know this for you raw audio listeners, but I'm doing Corp, so if I get a drop, I will scream. Bingo calls. Doesn't matter if we're doing for podcasting, it has to be done. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. Oh, what? So if you don't know, we're in bingo right now, and I just pulled the Corp pet.
How the hell are you doing Corp right now?
I AHK'd my keyboard so that so that I could like click silently without saying anything.
Hello and welcome to episode 235 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dills, and joined as usual is Heartless.
Hey, how are you, Dills?
Oh, I am doing okay. Actually, you know what? Last week I was talking about it. I've been sick. My little one's been sick. He's got like 2 eye infections. Man, it never ends. Anyways, yeah, he started daycare a few weeks ago, and it's been just illness after illness for somebody in the house. So that's been fun. Overall, been good though. How have you been?
Yeah, nice. Been enjoying my couple weeks off here.
Nice. Awesome stuff. This is kind of like a special episode in a way because we have some big content to talk about. Gosh, this whole year has been pretty packed with like content to talk about. We talked about the Ruinous Prayers last week, and now this week, I should say this episode. Last episode was Ruinous Prayers. This episode is the new skill that's going to be potentially coming out. So they have revealed the 3 pitches for the skills this week. And yeah, there is a lot to talk about. Now, usually we open up here with like, what have you been up to during the week? I'll be honest, I haven't been up to much. We do have bingo going on, but we're in the middle of it. So no spoilers from my end. But Heartless, before we jump into the news, I will ask you, anything going on?
Yeah, but we're going to save that for next week. So
yeah, all right. Okay, so let's just jump right into these new skills because it has been a long time since we ever we've never seen a new skill in old school RuneScape, which came out in 2013. They've tried a few times, but never successfully pitched an idea that people were happy with. They pitched sailing in 2015, I believe, and it got like 69%, which is pretty good, but you need 75% to pass. People weren't super into it at the time. And then I don't even know if they pulled this one, but they had pitched it like off the cuff called Artisan, which was like Slayer, but for skilling. I don't know. I don't think it ever really made an official pull though. Just wasn't too much interest there. And then the third design, which was probably the most well thought of out of the 3, I would say, it was Warding, which was this like rune crafting meets tailoring skill. So you're going to be able to break down equipment into these other resources, and you're going to be able to, right now, if you want to make robes and stuff, it's in the crafting skill. So basically separate it. You can make your own like split bark, and you can make your own, and they had a whole bunch of different like mage gear you could craft yourself. And they had elements of like splashing to, anyways, it was like this like hodgepodge, I think, is that what people say? This hodgepodge of ideas that ultimately people weren't super thrilled with. I'll admit I did. Actually, I can't even remember, but I'm pretty sure I was pushing, being like, yes, let's bring Warding into the game. And then after thinking about it, because it failed, people made the point of like, it just seems like fletching or crafting 2.0. Not even 2.0, just a reskin of fletching or crafting. And I was like, yeah, it's true. I don't really like training those skills, so I'm kind of glad it didn't come into the game. So the 3, did you have any like strong feelings about any of the skills?
the original, you're talking about the original 3.
Yeah, so like the first pitch of sailing, Artisan, and Warding.
So I missed sailing. I wasn't around for sailing. I voted yes for Artisan because I thought it had potential, but I voted no to Warding because I thought it was a little bit ham-fisted. A little bit forced. So, and I've talked about it before, how I think that the direction they've chose to go in with, community consultation being a key part of it is the only way they could get a new skill in. And I think it's going well so far.
Yeah, I think they really realized, because the problem with warding was they really fleshed out this entire new skill. They put a lot of work into it, and then it just didn't pass. So that was a lot of wasted time. So they came up with this process of how this new skill will come into the game. And it's like a 12-step process. You have 1, the green light. Do we as a community want a new skill? Turns out we do. I think more than 80% of people voted yes. The second step was community consultation. So talking to the community, hearing ideas, like letting the community come with their own skill pitches to see what people want and if anything's good there, maybe take some inspiration. Step number 3, which is what we're at today, is the skill pitches. So we are now going to hear about the skill pitches. From there, they will refine one of the skills, they will refine all the skill pitches, and then they will lock in the skill that people want the most. So one of these 3 skills, they will make a beta they'll do some beta testing where we can all try this new skill. Then from that beta test, they will then make a new dev blog and skill blog and poll all about this new skill in so much more detail. They will then share some community survey polls. There will be a more in-depth development of the skill. They will refine it further. They will fine-tune and finally wait for the community to agree, yes, this is what we want. And then they will do, I guess, another beta test for feedback before finalizing the skill in game. There's probably going to be more than just those skills, but
it's going to be a long process. But basically right now we're just starting with, we wanted a skill, we voted yes to that. Now we get to pick the skill that we want to work on.
That is right. So very, very exciting. So when you think of before we get into the new skills, when you think of a new skill, is there any boxes that you're like, these are must-haves that they have to check off? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but is there anything that you're like, a skill needs to have this for me to be on board?
Yes. So I think obviously it needs to be exciting than most of the skills that we have. It needs to not be a buyable for me, because that's kind of boring. And it needs to have multiple ways to train it. And then finally, and possibly the most important thing, it needs to have useful rewards or like a reason for you to train it. So yeah, those are like the main sort of points. But I think, anyone would say that they want all of those things. So it seems like common sense to me.
But I think that's why maybe it's been so hard to bring out a skill in the past, because so many people were like, these rewards suck or they're overpowered or whatever it was. There's something that a big chunk of the community wasn't super into. And they also released this like 2.5 hour long live stream video, but they go into detail about these 3 skills. They answer some questions and all that sort of stuff.
Because you watched it all 2 hours. Actually, I watched it this morning, so it's really fresh in my mind. Yeah, I did 4 hours of Next today, and I listened to that for the entire time. So it was it was really good. I think I learned a lot from it, and I learned a lot just from their social interactions with each other and like the jokes they were making about certain parts of the community. We'll get into it more though. I'll explain more my thinking. But yeah, it was a great video. It's really translates to like if you like, obviously a lot of people who listen to this obviously like podcasts. So if you're at work or something and you need another 2-hour thing to listen to, like, yeah, listen to us for sure. We'll break it down for you and give you our thoughts, but also get in there and listen to the devs, because they'll give you a much more detailed view on how they came about these 3 skills and where their thought processes lie. And it's a good about 2 hours, 20 minutes. It's a good listen.
It is a good listen. And what do you think would happen if I just took that audio and just threw it as its own episode on our podcast feed?
I feel like we would be like copyright strike. I don't fully look. I'm not a copyright law guy. Like, I'm not into Twitch. I'm not into whatever. So I haven't really like streamed much. I streamed once. So yeah, I don't really know much about copyright music. I know that you just don't really want to mess with it. So, but this isn't music. This is obviously their property. I guess you could put all 2 hours in. It's up to you, Dels.
So yeah, I pulled the audio from that live stream because I wanted to listen to it without having YouTube open because it kills bandwidth. So anyways, I'll share that on the Discord for anyone who wants to check it out and doesn't want to watch a video. But it is very good. And I remember the reason why I had brought it up as well is because one thing they mentioned in that video was basically all the skills we have kind of suck. They didn't say every skill sucks, but they said things like fire making would definitely not pass. And most of the skills we have probably wouldn't pass because it's like kind of boring to train. Not many people enjoy training fleshing or crafting or
it sucks.
Whatever. Most skills aren't super fun. So they're aware of that. And I think they know that this new skill, as you mentioned, it needs to be like, it can't just be a skill that just like fits in with the rest of them because warding did that. Warding fit with all the other skills we had, but nobody wanted that. So people want a new like innovative skill that is like next level. Okay. Is there any skills that you really like in old school RuneScape? Any skill that you look at, you're like, that is a pretty perfect skill in my eyes.
I mean, Slayer and farming are my favorite skills.
Yeah, me too.
I think most people would say that. So I guess I'll give my reasoning on why I like them. So Slayer is diverse. I think it sucks in the early game. Slayer's not very fun, but at least it takes you to different mobs and different parts of the map. It gets you out there. You're killing stuff. That's always fun. Later, you get to experience bosses. You get a helmet that makes you do a lot more damage. There's like a certain excitement about getting a Slayer task every time. Not knowing what it is. There's a bit of unpredictability, which makes it fun. Farming, I really like because it's opposite. It's like time gated. It's low key. I know a lot of people find that frustrating, but a lot of people like that for the same reason. I can log in, do a farm run, and get like a shit ton of XP in a short amount of time. And for me, I think that's really cool. And I've always liked farming. So yeah, that's why I like farming. As far as other skills go, I think modern updates, like we talked about gamifying, but a lot of the modern updates have made certain skills really, really enjoyable. Like agility is now such a fun skill. Only though, when you unlock the lower levels of Fouled Sepulchre. So it basically sucks till level 93. And then it just becomes this like incredible skill. I mean, it's probably great with level 4 unlocked too, but I probably wouldn't do it without at least level 4. So you got to make your way through the beginning parts. So I think there could be more diversity there, but I love agility for that reason. I like Guardians of the Rift just completely changed the way rune crafting is done. I think that's pretty much it. So those skills are kind of fun. The rest of them are just things you have to get through, Obviously the combats, I don't really count the combats as skills because they just kind of happen.
Yeah, and it's like the same thing with Slayer where it's like you're killing stuff and we would kill stuff anyways. That's one of the most fun things to do in this game is just to kill shit.
Yeah, but Slayer is definitely a skill though, because you have to go out of your way to kill certain things. So it makes the game interesting.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would say funny enough, like 2 of those skills, they're very slow to train, but they're still very enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's one thing they mentioned a lot about with like Slayer. They're like, nobody complains about Slayer training, like training Slayer, because it's just fun to do. People don't mind. So
yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, so those are like the 4 fun ones. There's a couple others that aren't too bad, like fishing isn't too bad and other things, but yeah, we'll go with those.
Farming is definitely one of my top tier skills as well. I wish I had a reason besides grinding the pet to continue training it. It's a little expensive.
A lot of the skills have potential to be more fun too. Like Hunter is like not so bad. There's a lot of different training methods, but there's no like real rewards from it. If you're an iron, it's cool. Like you get chins. Like I like to collect stuff, so chins are cool. And there's a variety of ways. You got herbivore, blah blah blah. But besides pets, there's really nothing. There's nothing to it. Same with thieving. Like it has so much potential, but so I think if they sort of flesh out some of those skills and add ways to train them that make them a little bit more fun, like they did with agility and rune crafting, I think we could get a much more well-rounded game out of some of these skills. But anyways, we're talking new skills today. So
the new skill, that's right. The lead up into the new skill. So the first skill pitch we're going to talk about is You ever want to be a pirate, Heartless? You ever want to be a pirate in life?
Did I ever want to be a pirate?
Yeah.
No, not really. But I do like Pirates of the Caribbean. That's a fun ass movie.
Great. Well, now you might be able to be a pirate. The sailing skill. Who saw that one coming?
You called it. You called it, Dills.
I think we both predicted that sailing would make a resurgence
we knew it'd be there in some form, right? Like we didn't know exactly how it would show up, but
Mhm.
I mean, it's a good concept, so it makes sense that it made it in.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, you're going to be able to sail the seas of RuneScape with this new skill. So yeah, you get to be a sailor, you get to be a pirate. So what does that mean? It's a great question. A lot of the details in all of these skills are very vague on purpose because they don't want to. The problem with warding is like they created the whole skill and people are like, hate it. So let's vote no. So instead, they're kind of giving you very, general concepts about what sailing could be.
Exactly what it could be. Nothing is set in stone. This is all totally conceptual. We get to build the skill from the ground up with the devs.
Mm-hmm. So they say the core, and each one of these is going to have a core gameplay loop, which is basically just a quick summary of what it could be like. But use your imagination. It's not going to be this dull. You can navigate to a port. You obtain a shift, and you engage in fun activities.
Did you say obtain a shift? Yeah, I want to go down to the docks and get a shift.
What's a shift?
Isn't that what you just said? You said shift, Dills. You
navigate to a port, obtain a ship. I don't even know what a shift is.
I thought you were like
in fun activities.
We're going down to the docks, boys, and we're gonna get some We're gonna get some shift work. Get home from your work shift and go start a new shift down at the docks. Grinding.
Level 1, skill. You get to start as a I don't know what is it, like a cabin boy. That's level 1. You're the cabin boy.
You're a deckhand. You just got to sweep the deck for 35 XP per action. It's going to be terrible.
That is right. So this skill is going to be like a very exploration heavy type of skill. You'll be able to explore the seas of Gielinor. You'll be able to discover areas of opportunity or something. Maybe you discover an island, or maybe you discover it's a mermaid who's lost at sea. There's going to be a bunch of different things you could kind of explore out to sea. So these could be islands, which means they could have special resources, or it could be a dungeon or different monsters. There's a lot you could do with it. You might stumble across a kraken that's out in sea that you then have to fight, maybe. There's a lot you could discover, and there's a lot of room for designing a very unique skill in this. Now, when I'm thinking of sailing, the first thing I get kind of worried about is like, what would sailing actually look like? Because we do have ships in the game, but they're always like cutscenes. They're just cutscenes when you're traveling to one place, or it's like fishing trawler, which kind of sucks. Isn't really that much fun.
Yeah. So one of and I think that's a pretty common question, and the devs did address this in the video. So they mentioned that with this skill, a lot of the time would be eaten up by development work and engine work to make it flow a little bit more. I know Husky specifically mentioned, like, when you click your character one tile behind you, they turn around 180 degrees, and it would be weird if a ship did that. So they were simply saying that if sailing is the choice that we go for, there will be significant development time. Like maybe we use WASD keys or arrow keys to move the ship. They didn't say it might not be point and click. There are options to how we move it.
What they did say is they want it to be intuitive. So kind of like you point and click with your character, and it just feels super natural. Even if you never played RuneScape before, it feels natural to click and move.
I doubt we're going to get WASD keys because it has to be mobile friendly. So it's going to have to be point and click.
True.
So we have to keep that in mind too. But yeah, anyways, they did mention that engine work, they will have the resources to do the engine work to make it into an appropriate skill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so the moving will be intuitive, whatever that means. It's supposed to feel natural to the actual game. Because the problem is, if you've done I think it's Bon Voyage, where you have to control your ship, it sucks. You click an arrow and you follow this meter, and it's kind of like Giant's Foundry, where you're like leveling these different meters to make sure you're driving straight. Anyways, it kind of sucks. That's not really what I would want to do. And they also mentioned it's not going to be instanced. So there is the potential that you could be out to Heartless. I could be out to sea, and I might see you perched up talking to the mermaid you stumbled across.
Whoa.
Might be able to come by and see you getting distracted by the sirens call.
Come by and snatch my new girl.
And that's another cool part of it. Not the girl snatching part. That wasn't mentioned in the dev blog. That's probably a level 99 requirement. But you could really incorporate some cool like naval battles.
They mentioned like PvP elements. They mentioned like literal piracy, because sailing doesn't necessarily mean piracy, but we obviously think usually in games it does. So that would be an element of it. I think there's a lot of potential here.
Definitely. And another cool part is that they mentioned, you need your ship. How are you going to get your ship? And a few things that they just said off the cuff. Maybe you buy one, maybe you earn it somehow, maybe you build it, or maybe you steal one. So that's very exciting. That you have like the freedom to maybe customize your own ship or steal someone else's customized ship. That's pretty neat. And then they mentioned as well the idea of like, imagine if you had like multiple ships at some point. You're higher level, you see you're level 99, you have one ship that's meant for fishing. It's just a fishing boat. Cool. You have another one that's maybe like like one of those merchant ships where it's just a vessel meant for transporting a large amount of goods.
Yep. Could be great. Cool. There's so much potential. Like I think of all three skills, like we're going to talk about all of them, but this one has the most potential for like large game changing things. Like there's so many different directions you could go with, and so many updates you could add to sailing. It almost feels like its own game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you could put gold sinks in, like, you're down at the port, and you got to pay 1 mil, or like you got to pay 40 mil or something to get a new berth, and then like they go, like how we get bank spaces, how it's like 1 mil for one berth, 10 mil for two, so you could have like multiple ships, like you were saying. So you have a sailing boat, you have a PvP piracy boat, you got a fast exploration boat if you're looking for like islands with like that maybe have like dungeoneering type stuff. There's a lot of different directions they could go with this, so I think this is basically a guaranteed winner.
It's a really cool idea. Got to hire your own crew. Maybe you cheap out on your crew and they mutiny and throw you off the deck. Maybe you don't bring enough oranges and they all get scurvy.
There could be different sizes of ships, like you're saying. Yeah, you have to go with your friends or NPCs, etc. Yeah, lots of options here.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So we've kind of gone through it a bit, but like, is there anything that makes you very excited about this skill? Or anything that you love?
I think what I really like about it is it's going to make the world feel very connected. So all those empty patches of ocean between like, Karamja and, the mainland, like the free-to-play area, I can't remember what it's called, Misthalin. The huge space between Zaya and the rest of Gielinor. Like, there could be piracy out there. There could be dangerous waters. Like the deeper you go, you find more dangerous things, higher level monsters. I think it's just going to it would just fill out the world really nicely. Mm-hmm. And I think if they put the engine work in, which I don't doubt they would, this is going to be a great update. So I think if you decide to vote for sailing, where there's so many different directions we could go in, there's going to be something for everyone, from PvPers to PVMers to people who are just enjoy skilling. I think there's a lot of options here.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I'm really excited for the immersive part about it. How this could be, it could be a game changer in how a skill operates in the game. Like this could be, as you mentioned, it could be completely new and an innovative idea that is like feels like its own game. People play, I think it's Assassin's Creed Black Flag. They play it just for like the pirate part of it. So like that, it'd be cool if like RuneScape could be like that, where people play it. They're like, you know what? I only want to do sailing in this game. I'm going to make a sailing only pure.
Yeah, like it could be possible, right? So
it could be possible. Is there anything that you're like that worries you or think would be a negative if this came into the game?
That's a good question. All I can think of are positives right now. What about you? Is there anything that jumps to mind?
I think my one, I saw a Reddit comment, and
oh yeah, I've tried to stay off Reddit.
I should, but I did see a Reddit comment that was like, I thought they made a good point and made me like, I was super excited for this skill, and then my excitement was like a little tampered down. But the comment was they didn't have 100% confidence that the dev team and the game engine would allow this skill to be as fun as it could be, that it would end up being a fairly clunky thing to operate just because of how the game engine is.
Yeah, I see that because we're like all tile based and stuff. I still think there's things they could do. Look, if they can make Hell's Sepulchre, then I think they can figure out how to make the engine work for it.
Yeah.
So I don't think they would have pitched it if they didn't believe that they could do it. So I personally I have faith, but I do see where this comment is coming from.
Yeah, and it made me rethink, because when I'm thinking sailing, I really like the whole nautical theme. I love like stories of pirates and stuff, even though honestly I've never been able to find a good movie or book about pirates. So or video game.
Pirates of the Caribbean, dude?
I did when I was a kid, and I tried watching it because I read this book and it had this pirate section. I was like, this is sick. And whenever I played Dungeons and Dragons, I'd always make like pirate themed characters. And then I went back and rewatched Pirates of the Caribbean, and I was kind of bored like halfway through.
I'd probably be bored because I've seen it like 30 times. Because when I was a kid, I just watched it on a repeat, dude. But maybe it is more of a kid's movie or whatever. But fond memories. Okay. So I did think of something that could be an issue. Now, this is, I guess, dangerously close, or could be dangerously close to Dungeoneering from RS3. So, like, let's just say they didn't even have ships. Like, you just kind of went to instance islands and you found these dungeons, and you went in and you, like, it was multi-skilled and you killed shit and, you got loot and rewards and stuff. That'd be Dungeoneering, basically, reskinned. Would it still be fun? I mean, yeah, probably. So for that reason, I don't really mind. But they specifically said it's not going to be that. It's going to be something different. Yeah,
and that's a big complaint. People are like, when the first sailing was pitched, people were like, this is going to be
I'm not an RS3 guy. Did you ever do Dungeoneering?
I've done a little bit.
Do you like it?
It is actually kind of fun.
See, that's the thing. Like, it would be like Corrupted Gauntlet, but
imagine like Corrupted Gauntlet, but it had like way more unique items you could make. So it wasn't just your halberd, bow, or staff. It was like so many different types, and you can in armor too, a bunch of different types of armor. And then every time you got to the boss was different.
Yeah,
you see, so many different bosses.
That kind of makes me a little bit excited. I experienced a touch of Dungeoneering when I played for like, maybe tried it once or twice when it first came out, and then I think I quit soon after. But I like the concept, so I don't even mind if that was an element to sailing. But regardless, I think this is a good skill and would add a lot to the game.
Yeah, it could be very neat.
I was skeptical of it at first. I was like, this kind of sounds lame, because I remember the old pitch. Like, I wasn't around at the time, but I read it, and I'd heard about it from players who had played when it came out. I think this is the way they described it in this 2-hour video, and after having listened to it, I'm now like pretty much totally on board for it, because there's just so many different directions we could go in.
Yeah, it really opens up. It's like when they added Zeah to old school RuneScape, the main reason they did it was they wanted a new land that isn't attached to RS3, where they could be as creative and they can do as many they can add as many things as they want without it infringing on like lore, because OSRS and RS3 have to be the lore has to match, basically. So Zeah was this new land they could just be as creative as possible. That's what sailing feels like in terms of more than just lore. Like, you could add whatever. You can add whatever you want. It'd be pretty neat. But yeah, the first pitch for sailing sucked. It was basically just construction, but you constructed a ship instead. So they said that's not going to be that way. You might be able to upgrade and change some things out, maybe add different cannons and that sort of stuff, which is really neat. So yeah, I get very excited for this because of there's so much I feel you could do. Any closing thoughts before we move on to skill number 2? Okay, cool. The second skill, the taming skill. Did you ever dream of being like a Steve Irwin when you were younger? Like a crocodile hunter or some sort of, what else? Who else does?
A little bit until he died. And then I was like, oh shit, this is
brutal.
Too real.
What a brutal way to go.
What a tough, I remember I was young. That one hit me hard because I used to love that man, or still do, He was a big inspiration of mine for just loving nature, just his excitement and passion for it. And goddamn, did it hurt when he went down. But, at least he went down doing what he loved. So,
yeah, I guess so. Do you I wonder if he would have liked to go out that way.
Would you like to go out in the chair playing RuneScape?
I
swear, I feel a little morbid here, dude. You get a twisted bow and then you go down to the heart attack. I mean,
that's. Yeah, I mean, it's not
it's not
great for the group.
It's not great for the group Iron Man.
You can't split with them. You keep it. They can't split them out.
It's not great for the group. You're right. It's negative points there, but
yeah,
I jest. But yeah, Steve Irwin was definitely an icon of my childhood.
Yeah, definitely. And if he played RuneScape and he's still around today, he would probably be super into the skill. So this is the taming skill, which is going to be all about making friends with animals, getting them to trust you, and then they, in turn, will help you on your journey in RuneScape. So here's the core gameplay loop, and I will try not to mispronounce anything this time. Domesticate a creature in the open world, care for it by providing food, a home, and enriching activities, and train and level your new friend. So yeah, this skill is going to be, they made it a point to say this is not going to be a summoning reskin. RuneScape 3 has a skill called summoning where you can summon animals and monsters that help you do things in the game, mostly combat related, but sometimes they'll help with other things.
I feel like that's going to be hard to avoid, but I do appreciate them saying that. And I think the inspiration for this, they talked about the inspiration a lot. It's like people love animals, people love pets in the game. People like followers, mounts in other games, et cetera, they're important, they're cool, they're unique. So why not throw out taming as a pitch? And that's kind of where it came from.
So the first thing you would need to do is domesticate. So you would need to have some sort of maybe bait, well, not bait, but like food or toys or something to get this animal, I guess, interested in this new relationship that you two may have. And then once this animal trusts you, you then have to take care of it and need to house it. They make the point that they don't want it to be like having a cat where you need to have food with you all the time. But eventually you'll develop a strong bond with whatever animal this is. It will have some unique abilities, and it might open up some new activities in the world for you to do that you couldn't otherwise access. And then, this is the part that I kind of like, you get to level them up. You get to do things, and they get to level up and just grow. So one of the examples they give is maybe you tame a bear, and once this bear has been, this is now your companion in the game. Maybe there's a new fish you can fish. Not that you can fish, but the bear can fish. It's too many fishes in one sentence. But maybe this bear could do like this new type of salmon fishing where it's like this super salmons, and you need the bear to catch it. So that's kind of the idea. Or maybe there's like a tree in the way and you need to have a beaver chop down the tree so you can get through. It's kind of like Pokemon where there's like that Pokeball behind the tree and you need cut to get it down. The beaver could get that down for you. But yeah, these would be permanent creatures, not like summoning where they're temporary and you need to get resources to bring them back after their time is up. These will be permanent animals for you that you could bring out whenever you want it.
Yeah, you'd need some kind of like menagerie or farm to like keep these animals, some kind of maybe instance enclosure where you have all your different beasts and bring them out for different activities. Maybe you could send them on quests. Give your bear some cocaine and he can go and bring you back some bones or something. I don't know. Whatever you decide. There's
the bear decides that.
Whatever the bear decides. I think there are some cool options here. They also specifically mention like the creature would not just follow you like a pet, because obviously pets are probably one of the most unique things about this game. They're highly desired items, untradables that they do nothing except look cool. So they're kind of these status symbols. So they wouldn't want them replacing them. Husky mentioned like engine wise, maybe the animal was like in the area with you and it kind of follows you. It's not going to be like directly behind your character sliding along the tiles. It's going to be a little bit different than that. So I was pretty happy when I heard that. Yeah, this one seems to be a little bit. My concern, and they brought this up on the blog too, and I'm kind of skipping to my concern, but I would be worried that because we're so focused on efficiency in the game, or not everyone is, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people are. I think that's just the nature of being older. Like, we like being efficient. If there are 3 different skilling methods that are reasonably similar, if one has significantly higher XP but is slightly less fun, most people are probably going to do it just because they want to get through it quicker. They want to be more efficient with their time, and that's totally fair. So I would be worried that you need these creatures or these companions to get the best XP rates and other skills, and then it becomes like a must-have 99 or something that you need to rush. So
I see.
That would be a concern of mine. Oh my fucking God.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God.
You just got me.
What? Okay, so if you don't know, we're in bingo right now, and I just pulled the corp pet.
How the hell are you doing corp right now?
I AHK'd my keyboard so that I could like click silently without saying anything to anyone. I saw the collection log pop up, dude. Holy
snapperoonies.
Yeah, I just completely forgot what I was saying. Jeez.
You're talking about efficiency.
Okay, this is one of the best. This is one of the best pets in the game by far.
It is pretty cool.
The top 3 for me. Holy
Are you
fuck.
going to keep it as the core or turn it into the mini corp?
Big boy for sure.
The big corp?
The spiky dog, 100%.
Oh, interesting. See, I like the little guy. That's cool though. Damn.
Okay, well, we take those.
Right. So yeah, you're saying the efficiency and that this would be like a skill you would have to rush. Yeah, I think I agree. I think I would worry that there would be like, I don't really know how they're going to do this in a good way without it just being like have this one pet. See, I do think of summoning, where summoning had these like passive buffs when you bring these creatures out. They said they don't want it to be that direction as much, and they're also not going to focus heavily on combat. And I have a hard time picturing, why am I only going to bring this bear out just to catch some trout? And I'm only going to bring this, I don't know, dragon out to burn this, set something on fire.
Yeah, it could make the game feel a little bit bloated with all this stuff going on.
Yeah, and if we're all doing the same thing, it could be I don't know, less exciting. Because it's hard for that not to happen just because people can break this game down so well and they know exactly. I was doing Tombs of Amascut this week, and for bingo, and I usually do solos, and I haven't run a whole lot of like group TOAs recently, and I'm sure you know this, but for the last fight, they have the fight broken down to know the exact tile you need to spend for most of the phase 2 of that fight. So everyone stands on this one tile. Like, it's broken down to like, it can get so specific, So I wouldn't want. I worry that this skill it might fall into that category. But again, we don't really know what this skill would be. So yeah, my concerns is I look at this and I'm not sure how deep of a skill it could be.
I think this one's pretty much a hard no for me. Like, especially if you compare it to sailing and then the third one we get to. This doesn't have the. I mean, I'm sure it could be cool if they did it correctly, but it feels like something we don't need this. I think
I worry that it would change combat too much if they had like more of a combat emphasis, which I have a hard time thinking that they wouldn't, even though they said they wouldn't.
And I have to. I think the community is like pretty down on this one. There's definitely some interesting elements, but I think personally for me, there's not quite enough here to warrant it coming into the game.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I think, as you mentioned, I like the idea of this, and I feel like it could fit very well within Hunter, the hunting skill, or even like farming. If you want to have your own player-owned farm with, not player-owned farm. I think that's RuneScape 3. But if you could have your own animals, like animal husbandry.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's it's got potential, but I think especially when you start comparing it to sailing and stuff, it doesn't quite offer enough.
Yeah, I think I agree. Anything that you really like about this?
I like that there would be maybe like different engine work, and I do like the idea of like collecting things. Like I obviously just got a new pet, so I do like collecting pets, and I'm incredibly spooned on pets. One of my favorite things is like teleporting to my house and seeing them all like running around. Like I keep them all in there because I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's that part, like the collection part and the leveling up part. It would feel like Tamagotchi or like Pokemon, one of these like old school games that I maybe used to play when I was a little kid. So it might hit like a double punch of nostalgia. But I think my concerns over it being too bloated and too detrimental to maybe PVM or too game changing. I think I would personally, I'm not going to vote for this one, though I do see it does have some interesting ideas.
Yeah, I really got excited when they said like you could level up your pets. For a game where we love seeing numbers go up, I feel like things don't level up as much as you would have expected. We don't ever have to level up gear or armor or anything like that, which you can in RuneScape 3 for certain stuff. So anyways, I like the idea of having pets and stuff you can level up. That sounds kind of cool. It's like Pokemon. All right, should we dive into skill number 3?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the next skill is shamanism. Heartless, did you ever want to be a shaman in life?
I used to play a lot of Hearthstone. Shaman was my least played class.
Oh, nice.
Just was never drawn towards it. For all you Hearthstone players out there, I was a priest and mage, man. Priest and mage. Those are my main two. I loved priest though. Loved control priest in every facet of it. But I jumped back on the Hearthstone train last year and I played a little shaman just because Shudderwock was one of my favorite cards. But that's besides the point. This is a different game. Yeah, shamans are cool. And there's not really much shamanism. Shamanism is kind of akin to magic, right? We do have magic in this game, but we don't really have shamans. Feel like they're more like tribal magic, maybe more nature based magic.
It's like spiritual or it's like religious elements, but it's more of the what is it when you like worship gods, but the god is really like the sun? What's that called? I don't even know how you Google this. Religion where you worship the sun. It's like a term.
Well, Heliism or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too sure either. It doesn't matter. Anyways,
this no,
whatever that word is.
Before we go into this one, this was their like out of left field pitch. They said this was like the first two were more standard, and this one was like sort of out there. They put it out as a feeler to see if we wanted something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like it leans on like the spiritualness with like I guess I keep saying religion, but it's not. It's just like the spiritual. It's like very spiritual. I've never been super into like shamans. When I played World of Warcraft, the shaman was my first character, but I dropped it after I maxed it out. But never when I played Dungeons and Dragons, I always, even though these are separate things, but I find druids to be in the similar camp as shamans. I don't like when I'm playing with other druids. I just don't like the druid class when I play Dungeons and Dragons. So Shaman's not really into it thematic. That being said, this is pretty neat stuff. So the core gameplay loop is foraging for natural components throughout the world. And then you gather spiritual components at disturbed sites. And you draw a ritual circle anywhere in the world. And you create powerful shamanic items through rituals. So that is the gameplay loop. So there's a whole lot going on here. There's a lot of gathering elements where you will be gathering components. So this could be like mushrooms or leaves or flowers, but foraging around the world. And then there's this like spirit realm that you'll be able to enter. And it's supposed to be like the upside down, sort of like the upside down in Stranger Things, or I think it's the underworld in Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like a mirror image of Gielinor, but it's a spiritual level. Kind of like in Lord of the Rings, when you put that.
It doesn't strike me as something that those are like inherently evil, though. I don't think this would be like that.
No, yeah, it's not evil. I'm not super well versed on like Lord of the Rings lore, but I think the ring would bring you to a spirit world that Frodo puts on, and I don't know if that world is evil, but it was some sort of spirit world. So anyways, it's kind of like that. It's like this mirrored vision version of Gielinor, but spirits and ghosts, and it's not ghosts, but spirits and stuff. I keep leaning towards like horror. And then there'll be these like ritual sites that you can create, which you'll get some sort of buffs, or you'll get some sort of power from it that you can maybe imbue into other things. You can create, you can create a bunch of different items like tikis or oils and totems. And another word that I can't quite pronounce, poultices. What's a poultice? Do you know what a poultice is?
Something to do with chickens? I don't know.
Close. It is a soft, moist mass of material.
Okay, I was not quite there.
I still don't know what it is.
Speaking of words that we didn't know. So my mother the other day, we were doing some gardening together, and she asked me if I'd seen the secateurs. I was like, oh shit, she knows. I was like, what'd you call them? She's like, oh, secateurs, like the little things. So she's super British, so maybe it is just a British thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, small tangent, but yeah, there's a bunch of stuff you basically gather for this shamanism.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. And then you do some sort of spiritual ritual, and then you can create, totems, tikis, oils, and possibly be able to augment your existing gear with some powerful bonuses. And they said themselves powerful bonuses. So it's a gathering production skill that's going to, tie into combat somehow through these items that you can create, it seems.
Yeah, funny enough that like they mentioned that this is their out of left field pitch, but I think this is the most old school of all three of them.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I think that like really struck a chord with the community. I know it struck a chord with me. I read this and I was like, damn. This is sick. Like it has so much potential. It's like a production and a gathering skill at the same time that has real impacts on all the current metas, but not in a way that's like could be way too powerful, like taming. Just something subtle, like you going and upgrading your defensive properties on your gear, or adding a few extra, like adding a stab style to the scythe, or whatever it is. There's just a lot of potential here. So I think as soon as I read that, like the rewards to me just seems really, really interesting, and they could make a lot of unique combinations. You know how we talked about like crushing rings and like adding them together? This to me feels like a skill that's all about that idea. And that excites me. So yeah, there's a lot going on here, and I'm a big fan of it.
RuneScape 3 has Invention, which allows you to break down the components, and then you can like augment your gear as well, this has that it's kind of stepping into that area where you can you could augment. What does that even mean? It could mean making your scythe have a stab bonus instead of slash. My first thought was kind of the opposite. This would be potential, like suit could be very overpowered. The first thing I thought about was what if you could add the leagues or dead man mode? Those like perks you could get. I forget what they're called. But they had stuff where it's like your third hit does double damage or something like that. Like they had some crazy buffs. That's what I was thinking. Like you could augment your weapon so that it did some batshit crazy stuff, but there's some drawbacks.
I don't think they would go in that direction. I think these would be subtle buffs to the weapons and to, armor. Even they mentioned tools, maybe there's something we can add to our dragon pickaxe so that, maybe there's a 20% chance that we mine an extra ore, an extra amethyst. Even little things like this, like there could be like production elements to this too. This is a skill that could impact the entire game. And it could be unique for everyone, right? Because maybe they make the items untradeable. This just reminds me, I don't play World of Warcraft, but you see those pictures of like you getting these like weapons from raids and they're all different. Or what was the game? It's not Badlands. You know what I'm talking about? There's like, it's on the tip of my tongue, dude. It was on PlayStation, and it was like 3 or 4 of them. Started with
was it MMO?
Started with a B. No, it was like a gun game where you'd like, dude. I played the first
Borderlands,
dude. Fuck, how could I forget? I played the first and the second Borderlands. Such a cool game, dude. Like every gun is unique, every gun is different. And, there's so many different stats available. That kind of thing coming in to the game would be interesting. So I think World of Warcraft has something like that, like how the items can be unique or have unique special effects.
Yeah, they do. And then you can also enchant your weapon. So they have maybe they have a 20% chance to inflict poison you add these buffs to it as well. I think there's a lot of cool things you could do here. Even like the oils, I think of like The Witcher, where you can imagine you just put some sort of oil on your weapon that the next 2 hits, it's only for 2 hits. But it, does this or that.
Yeah, they mentioned it being, they could use oils, so maybe they wear off after 1,000 hits or something, or they can make them permanent upgrades. There are different directions they could go with shamanism in general as far as the upgrades go. But I think this one for me feels the most old school and would have the most seamless. It would have the most seamless sort of integration into the game. I was looking for the right word.
Yeah, I agree there.
Also, the whole spirit realm, other type world, you could be in a different plane. Maybe you could see everyone doing things, but you're in spirit form and they can't see you. Or now you discover things that never. There's a sort of an exploration element to this because they could just layer a map on top of this map where you are just a spirit. And then you see all this shit that maybe explains why things are like that in the overworld. Maybe you see all these things going on around fairy rings to help explain them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of storytelling that could be here too. A lot of quests, a lot of lore. And I think from that element, it really has piqued my interest.
I think I agree there as well. One thing they mentioned, I can't remember if this is Corp, but in RuneScape 3 you can go into the spirit realm and you have to for a quest, and you end up killing the boss in the spirit realm. And then once you kill the boss in the spirit realm, it then dies in the spirit realm, but it's reborn in the real world. And then it's this thing you then have to just deal with in the real world. So it has a little bit of lore already with how RuneScape 3 does it. And it's just cool. Yeah, I really like when this mirrored worlds and stuff. Again, I pull from the things I enjoy from Dungeons and Dragons and other games, and I always think it's cool when you can go to the mirror version of your world, and it's just, who knows, it's different in some way. So you might have already mentioned it though, but is there anything about the skill you look at and you're like, I love this. I love this about the skill. It stands out as something you really enjoy.
Just upgrading items in unique ways is so cool. It's the same reason I love sailing. I think it just fills in a gap in the game. adding this extra world that you could enter that just kind of overlays onto ours just has so much potential and is just such an interesting exploration. You just so much potential here. I don't know how to put my thoughts into words, but this one for me is amazing. This is an amazing skill. And I think I think we could work together to make sure like that we're not gonna, the rewards aren't gonna be too powerful. I think we can work as a community and with the devs to make sure things come into the game that we want, etc. Yeah. So that's what about you? What's your final thoughts on this?
I really like the augmenting part about it, where you could like augment gear. The idea of, we're going into a raid and you have a setup of gear with augments that, maybe you set up your gear with the augments that you like that fit your play style. Maybe my augments are completely different because I bring them for my own reasons. Now, my worry would be like there's an augment you're going to use for this armor and everyone's going to use it because it's the most efficient, hands down.
Sure, but like you could have like multiple sets of armor then. Like what if you have one that has extra prayer bonus, one that has extra defense, one that has extra strength bonus, they could be really subtle tweaks. Maybe when you wear the full set of enchanted armor, it allows your weapon to hit 20% extra or like whatever, 10% extra against ghosts. So now it's all of a sudden great at revs. Like there's just so much room for creativity here.
That's where I get excited. The creativity part.
It gets me so excited. Yeah. And like, I'm not the most creative person, but I think as a community with the devs, we could come up with some really amazing ideas. We have some incredibly creative people in our community. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just so excited for the skill.
Yeah. And like you could go to Next with a group of people and you could be like to yourself, I'm going to try this set of augments on my gear just to see how it.
Yeah. What if it gives you it allows you to attack from further away? Like there could be, interesting elements to this. So it's a very cool, skill with a lot of potential.
Now, on the opposite side, is there anything you look at that you think this skill would be a negative if brought in, or is something negative about this skill?
Maybe that it becomes sort of like I mentioned with taming, like it becomes so powerful. It's like a must-have in every scenario. So I think maybe like making sure we put a cap on sort of the power creep that comes from it. But no, not really. This one seems it's kind of like sailing. I think this one can only be positive, pretty much.
Yeah,
it fits so thematic. I feel like it fits so thematically as well.
Yeah, it does fit very well. I think one thing that I would worry about is the training methods because they mentioned at the start
it would be a little boring. Part of it, for sure.
It could be boring if you're just going around picking up mushrooms and leaves off the ground, and then you bring them all. Then you have to go gather spiritual components, and then you go to a spiritual site to make this ritual. It feels like it could be a little dull to train and actually have to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see that point too. I didn't really think about that. Yeah, training could be a little bit dull.
And then I worry that in order to make the augments fun, they would have to be like maybe super busted in some way, in which case they wouldn't go in that direction. They would make them, if the end result was a strength bonus or 2, that's pretty big. Like 1 strength bonus is
sure.
Really work hard for that.
You can make it untradeable, and you have to grind shamanism to even get the fungus. So there's ways to gate it besides just being just whoever's the richest gets the best gear.
I think it might be a challenge for them to balance it between being fun, innovative, creative, and not overpowered. So, if the end result is like level 99, you could give your weapon +2 strength bonus. Well, that is like, that's a big number to add on because we know strength bonus is key. But to me, it's like, oh, that's a little bit boring. I want something new. Which, how do you do that without it being broken? So that's where I would worry that like that balance can't be hit super well. But yeah, overall, it is quite exciting. Yeah, I don't know. Any closing thoughts on shamanism?
I mean, it's gonna be a tough one. Like, I mean, closing thoughts on all the skills is really what I'm going for nowadays. I don't know, man. I'm not into taming. I think I made myself pretty. So did you. We're kind of clear on that. I don't think it's gonna pass. I don't think taming is gonna be the one the community chooses. I think it's gonna be between shamanism and sailing for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I'd vote for them both. Honestly, I'm happy with either one. They're both great. They both seem like they're fun.
So one thing I was very shocked with was like I didn't hate any of these ideas. I thought I was going to for sure be kind of disappointed by these pitches, and I'm the opposite. I'm actually very impressed by it. What are your thoughts when you first read through these 3 pitches?
First, I was like, sailing, rolled my eyes. But then I read it. I was like, okay. Like, I can get behind it. I read taming. I was like, no, this isn't for me. And then I read shamanism. Like, oh my God, this is so sick. Like, this is so old school. It fits right in. It could be great. And now after having watched the, the pre-recorded detail about how they came up with the pitches, definite no for taming, but like, now I'm a little bit more up on sailing. Honestly, I think they could both be brought into the game, and they both.
Oh, interesting.
They're very different. That's the thing. They're very, very different.
I agree. I'm sitting here being like, why can't we have them both? They're both really cool. How?
Yeah, obviously they don't have the time to do both. So I'm definitely will vote on one of those two. But that yet to be seen which one it is.
I was impressed that each of the skills were coming at it from different angles. So you have this sailing, which to me feels, you mentioned it. It's like it could be a whole new game within the game where the whole world of sailing, there's like so much going on there between, naval battles and exploration and upgrading your ships and maybe owning different ships. Maybe you own a canoe. Why not? Right? Canoes are fun. And then you maybe have your crew you need to manage a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot going on there, and it's very innovative. It's very different. Shamanism, it's like maybe not as innovative. It's more, it fits very well in the game, but in a good way. Warding also fit well, but warding sucked.
Yeah, this feels different than warding, because warding was kind of like trying to fill a hole. It was trying to fill the hole of like, where does armor come from? Whereas this just feels new. Like augmenting gear just feels like a new thing. I know we have breakdownscape and stuff, but that's different than this.
Yeah, this is maybe turning your whip. Maybe instead of it doing venom, your tentacle whip, maybe it does. It adds burning. Burning is this new. I'm putting it in. It's this new debuff somebody can get.
Sure. Yeah, no, there's totally a lot of options like that, right?
And that's really exciting because more customization for how you set your load up out when you're going to go kill some shit. I'm super into that. So this skill is much more grounded in what a skill would look like if it wasn't an out there idea like sailing is, but done in a very good way. And then you have taming as well, which is, I agree. I'm less excited about it. Mostly because it doesn't seem like it could be as deep or as complex as these other 2 skills. But at the same time, I think it could be a great expansion onto Hunter. And I still kind of like the idea of having animals you can just, as your companions, you could level up and stuff. Maybe a little bit harder to balance without devaluing your pets or becoming too busted and just becoming summoning. But yeah, still pretty neat to see. So yeah, there's the 3 skills. What else more could we say? It's same as you. I'm super excited for sailing and shamanism specifically. But
I'm so curious which one is going to come in, because I don't know. I don't even know what I'm voting for yet, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know either. I wish we could vote for both. And I have seen a lot of people do like the idea of taming as well. So I think the response is more positive than maybe what Jagus was expecting. It's more positive than what I was expecting. So
Good for them, because I when you were listening to that thing, you can just see the way they interact with each other. I mentioned this before, especially Light. She's just saying like, the community, like I think they can be pretty brutal and I've seen it. They can be unbelievably cruel to the devs sometimes.
I don't think I could work there. I don't think I could properly do it with
it's pretty cringe to see some of the stuff that they take, some of the abuse they take. They were Light said something like, I just hope that these aren't rubbish or, bad. And, but, the community, I wish they used that word if they didn't like it, as if I wish they said it was trash rather than like some of the words they actually use. So I'm laughing, but man, it must be fucking brutal, especially as the community lead, like the community, liaison or whatever her and Aiza's job is.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you could ever, this is a side note, do you think you could ever work at Jagex if you were knowing that you'd be a J mod with your own Twitter account? You don't have to be super active, but it would be there.
Could I work at Jagex? I mean, I don't have any development skills. Let's say I had the skills and I wanted to live in Cambridge. Yeah, I mean, if the offer is right, I'm sure I'd work there. It'd be cool. But I would be worried about like mixing something I really like a hobby, becoming work, and then me not enjoying the game anymore. That would be my concern. So like, this is my way to relax. This is my way to spend time with my friends. I really like RuneScape. Obviously, do podcasts about it with you. So I'd be worried if I worked around RuneScape all day that I wouldn't want to go home then and play that game, or I'd get burnt out of it, because I think mixing work and pleasure, as they say, doesn't always work. So obviously that's usually about other things, but specifically in this case, I think it'd be dangerous. But that's probably the reason why these devs have so much passion, because they are all players. Like Elena and Kieran are literally both max with Infernal Capes. Light plays a little bit. Husky plays. He's got a pretty sick Iron Man. Pretty much all the devs play. So clearly they do something that makes them, they're passionate about it, and that's cool. Mod Jed play as well. We saw how that turned out. I'd be worried I'd turn into a Mod Jed. He was passionate. Maybe I'm just too. He was passionate. Oh, that's for sure. But he was passionate about making money and stealing people's accounts. Man, what a crazy situation. I still can't believe that sometimes.
So much fun. So the reason I was asking, because I was thinking about it. Like, I don't think I could work at Jagex. I think I would not be able to handle the abuse from the community.
Yeah, I think speaking of that, it'd be tough, especially if you're in one of the community positions. It'd be really tough.
Yeah, I think I would not be. People don't look at the comments. I don't think I wouldn't not be able to look at the comments. And Husky said it before, going back to what you said, maybe over a year ago at this point, but there was a live stream and Husky was like, the people on stream, the people watching were being very nasty in the comments. And he said, you know what, guys, you guys are just being mean and rude and saying some very terrible things. And guess what? Nobody wants to do these. No JMods want to take their, free time and come to do these live streams because they know they're just going to get bitched at in the comments section. And he really,
honestly, gave it good for him. He was pissed and he gave it to him.
Yeah.
That was a big moment. I was really proud of Husky for that one.
Oh yeah.
Because some people just take it too fucking seriously and then take out their anger on the J mods, and they don't deserve it. They're working their asses off. So
that's right. Anyways, I want to hear what everyone else thinks. What do you guys think about the skills? What do you like? What don't you like? The questions that me and Heartless were bouncing off each other, want to hear it from you guys as well. So if we were talking about sailing and I was asking Heartless, what negative do you think would come from this skill if it came into the game? If something popped into your head that you were screaming at your speakers, leave us a message because I'm definitely curious. Anyways, Heartless, should we take a break?
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll take a break and we'll be right back. All right, we're going to take a quick break and head on over to the Grand Exchange. Guys, I have been at the Grand Exchange quite a bit. I mentioned I'm a bit of a rut. We'll talk about it more next episode. But I've been spending a lot of time at the Grand Exchange because I have been committed to learn how to DH PK. If you don't know what that is, it's wearing your full Darox. You got your Dragon Scimitar if you're me, or your whip if you're got lots of money or something, I don't know. And then an AGS, and it's so much fun, but it is so expensive. It's tough. What I like about it, so I've done a bunch of PK. This isn't even a PKing segment, but I started talking about the GE and PKing, top of mind right now. But what I love about DHPKing is it is slow paced and big hits. It's very slow paced, which feels nice. It feels like even though I've died and lost over 50 mil for sure. I've died like 20 times. But what I like about it is it constantly feels like I might actually win. I always feel like I have a chance. I've done GE PKing on my pure, and because it's so much like the pace is so much quicker, you need to be so much more on point. You blink and you're dead. You know, you have no defense. It's all about no defense, fast, hard hits. So it's very hard to improve on my pure because you just get Gmauled, comboed out within a minute, and it's hard to know what you did wrong. I have the same problem with Darok PKing, but it feels like there's been handfuls of times that I'm like, I could have got that kill had I actually just hit high instead of hitting nonstop zeros. So anyways, it's been expensive. That's my whole, sometimes we go to the Grand Exchange and we talk about money, how to make money, or in this case, lose money. So it has been very expensive, but been bored of the game, and I figured that could be an outlet for something to improve on. Anyways, doesn't matter. This segment is really to talk about how you can support the show if that's something you want to do. There are some fees when it comes to running and hosting a podcast. So many of our lovely supporters and donators help us not worry about some of those costs. So I really, really do appreciate it. The economy can be a bit tough at times, as it is right now. And knowing that I don't need to worry too much about the fees of podcasting takes a big burden off of me. So thank you very much to everyone who does support the show. But you might be wondering, who are those people who do indeed support the show? Well, great. I'm going to tell you. I say as I'm pulling it up here, buying time. Special shout out to Bronze Yawn, Yulfi Ferric, Da Sasquatch, Strosity, Flarch King, P Jackals, Roland Wisdom, Mallard, Spalimo, the Kazi, and Yay Fiber. Thank you so much for supporting the show. But of course, anytime a new person signs up, we do have to give them a special welcome as well. And this week it's Flarch King. So thank you so much for signing up to Discord and being a part of the Discord crew. You should be able to listen to the raw audio of new episodes almost right away, at least a lot sooner than the edited part. And you get to listen live if you're on Discord and you're online and want something to listen to while you're playing RuneScape, and it just so happens we're recording the podcast at that time. You can come listen. You can come listen to it, the live recording. And another thing I'm going to start doing as well is one thing that the raw audio does feature is basically sometimes I remove segments and I cut some content if I just feel it didn't really hit the mark, or just for whatever, a variety of reasons. It tends to happen. I'll be uploading the deleted scenes onto Patreon as well if you want to hear some of the segments that didn't quite make the cut. Sometimes it's just tangents that I felt, just whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So that's all there. You know what? If Patreon's not your thing, that is quite all right. You can head on over to buymeacoffee.com instead. We can make a one-time donation. So thank you so much to G. for buying me a coffee this week. Thank you so much. And last but not least, if none of those things is something you want to do, but you are very involved on Discord, and you so involved that you felt like you needed the monthly subscription of Discord, well, you get the perk of sending 2 server boosts wherever you'd like. And some people have sent it to the Wilderness server. So that is discord.gg/thewilderness. Thank you to Toddy, Battlestabs, Chick, Hey Step Sis, J Dog, Cosmonaut, Lips, Roland Wisdom, and Twisted Ooh Woo. Thank you all for boosting that server. Okay. Went a little bit longer than it probably should have, but let's get back in. We got some calls to listen to. We are back, and we do have some calls and messages to go through. So let's start.
Hey guys, this is Vin of Iron, and my recommendation for Dills to get out of his RuneScape funk is to pick up a hobby, because last week he said he wanted to do something creative, but did not have anything that he could do. So my recommendation is to just try some stuff. Ask your partner about crocheting. Try picking up origami, because that's dead easy to get the materials for. Something I do is I make little pony bead bracelets called Kandi, Kandi. You could try learning to cook something fancy or learning to bake. I really enjoy making pancakes in the morning sometimes.
Yeah, shout out to pancakes.
You could start a collection. But really, just find yourself a hobby that is not RuneScape. And if you feel burnt out on RuneScape, go do that. And then once you know just a little bit about your new hobby, you can go on like Reddit or on like specialized forums, and you can make friends about that hobby, so that then like you really have a new community of people, and you can like just do whatever you like to your heart's content, and then come back to RuneScape when you start feeling like doing it again, because Lord knows doing Money Snake forever is not a way to live. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.
Awesome. Vin of Iron, thank you so much for calling in with that message. Creative hobbies. Heartless, do you have any creative hobbies?
To play Magic. So that's a good creative outlet. Deck building.
That's true.
Deck building and stuff like that. It's also like a collection. So there's that. Gardening. Of course, I've mentioned gardening. That's pretty much it. Those and then RuneScape, and then obviously I play some sports and go to the gym, whatever. But that's just kind of normal exercise stuff.
It's a good variety of hobbies, because you got some physical ones, some social ones, and creative hobbies. I forget where I heard this or read this, but someone had said it somewhere. You should have 3 types of hobbies. One for physical exercise, one that could make you money, and then one that's creative and relaxing. I think that was the 3 of them.
Anyways. So I don't really have any that make me money, but I could work on that, I guess. I guess Magic technically, but that just really costs me money. Yeah.
I think I have a hard time with creative hobbies. I think because when I go into it, I'm going into it with a standard of like, I want this to look like this. So I think I mentioned it last episode, but I tried to get into drawing maps, like just fantasy maps. So I have all this, like, I would do it every night, and it was okay. After a while, I was sitting there being like, I think I'm forcing myself to like it. I like the idea of it, but doing it isn't really relaxing. My hand hurts, and I'm never proud of the product afterwards. So eventually I just dropped it. And I think I get like that with a lot of creative hobbies. Warhammer is something I wanted to get into. Well, that's very expensive, but there's a whole aspect. You get these miniatures you need to assemble and paint, and you get to play with them. But I worry that because I'm not good at painting, that the early stages of learning and improving won't be fun for me, because I think, sometimes I just maybe expect too much out of myself. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, I guess it's something I think about it a lot. I've had this problem all through life where I jump from hobby to hobby. I get really hardcore into paintball for a while, and I buy a really good paintball gun. I get all the gear and jerseys and a nice helmet. Go to these events for a couple of years, not even maybe a year or two, and then I stop completely.
Yeah, we've talked about this. It's funny because this is how you play RuneScape as well. We've talked about this before. You like jump from account to account, and you like it. You like trying new things, and for you that's exciting. Whereas like for me, I like sticking to the things I like, and I like getting like either really good at them or really into them. So like, gardening, soccer, Magic, RuneScape. Like those are like my go-tos. and that's just what I enjoy. So I don't for me, I don't need to try a lot of new things because I'm really happy with the things I like. So maybe it's just a difference of personalities. Who knows? Maybe it's because I have crippling ADHD. Who knows? It could be a number of things. But anyways, yeah, I think just trying new things for you is key.
It is. I think I need to be better at sticking to something though.
Yeah, but then again, like if you're not enjoying it, or for you, if the action of trying the new things it's what is fun, then what's wrong with that? Just try to pick hobbies that aren't too expensive.
That's what I was going to say. It does get expensive.
That would be key, right? So like maybe you and your partner join like a baseball team and try that for a couple seasons. Go to some tournaments and have some fun and meet some new people. That could be a fun thing to try. Stuff like that is, you don't need to be good at baseball. You just need to be good at drinking to go to the tournaments.
Oh yeah.
If I remember from my youth, I used to play baseball sometimes. We used to have this huge baseball tournament in the town where I was from, and I am fucking terrible at baseball. Like I don't even think I'd hit the ball half the time. But I tell you, I always had a good time at the tournament. It was a lot of fun. It's just nice, just drinking, hanging out with your friends, just watching people hit the ball, meeting new people from out of town. I don't know. I always had a good time there.
Yeah, you barely have to do anything.
I didn't. I
picked the right position.
They stick me in outfield. I could catch the ball. I could throw it a little bit. I could hit it once in a while, but I'm nothing special. But we had a good time, and that's all that matters.
When I was, I think I was in grade 5, I was trying out for the baseball team. And I never really made the cut for sports teams. I think maybe I did okay, but I just never made the top 10 or however many people are on a baseball team. But I was trying out this one time and somebody hit the ball and it went super far into the outfield. And I was the closest, so I went running after it and I grabbed it. And I was running and I was like, I wonder if I could throw it from here to the pitcher, I guess, like throw it back. So I fucking hooked it. I threw it as hard as I could. I'm pretty sure I dislocated my arm from throwing it, but it looked super natural. And it went right to the pitcher. And I remember the teacher was like, holy shit. And I made the team, and that throw was the reason I made the team. And then I performed terribly in any games. So
it was dislocated fully. Dude, I have nothing good to say about baseball. My skills are so bad. I remember in high school, we just played baseball in gym class. And I went to catch one of those balls that went completely straight up because I was playing pitcher or like back catch, whatever it's called. And I just didn't time it right. And the ball went not into my glove, but right onto my mouth, right into my teeth. So I was just bleeding at the mouth, just horrible, blood everywhere. So not a good baseball player. In that exact same game, my friend who was from Korea, he was an exchange student, very wealthy, had the fanciest cell phone at the time in school. I had one of those like fancy thin flip phones. He was running from the Razor. Yeah, he had one of those. Not too many kids had those back then. He was running from second base to third base, and he jumped to try and get up the way of the ball, and all we hear is this huge crack. Like people thought he'd broken a bone, and then he just reaches into his pocket, and his phone had just split right down the middle because it'd taken the impact of the baseball. Rough game. Shouldn't have had his cell phone on him, I guess. But he just got a new one. He just got a new one the next week because he was nice and wealthy. So, yeah.
Oh boy. I'm just gonna say it too. Baseball, not even a real sport. I'm just gonna say that.
It's a real sport, but like it's not my favorite. That's for sure.
I think it's like closer to like a board game than it is a sport.
To a board game. Oh, there's going to be some pissed off people out there. I will say, for me, like the games, they last a little too long. And I know this is coming from a soccer fan, which is some people not considered to be an exciting sport. It doesn't have the like impact that football does. But for me, those games last a little bit too long, like 3-4 hours. Like it's just too much for me.
Yeah.
I see why people like them. Don't get me wrong, but like basketball is a little more reasonable because it's like a short game. It's filled with a lot of impact,
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting about like American sports are we're just going. This is a crazy tangent here, but like baseball, basketball, and what's the other one they just mentioned? Football. They're all like high scoring
football.
point games. You know, like for the most, I mean, maybe not so much baseball, but you get a lot of points. There's always like it's like little dribbles. Like people are always doing dribbles, no pun intended there. But people are always like getting points. Whereas in like soccer or hockey, they're much lower scoring games. So like the moments are maybe a little bit bigger. Which means I feel like maybe there's more randomness in it. Who knows? I'm gonna stop talking now because I don't know what I'm talking about. But let's get back to RuneScape, Dills. Something I know a lot better.
If baseball was a skill, no. I think what I dislike about baseball and football is that you can't just show up and sit down without. You need to know some of the rules, otherwise it makes no sense. You have no idea what's going on or why. But like hockey, soccer, it's pretty straightforward. Ball goes in net or puck goes in net.
It's cool, yeah. I think I see the appeal to football and baseball being like a big family event where you like sit down for the afternoon, you get to chill. You get to watch it together. It's like it's a whole experience. It's a whole day experience. Especially football. It's also very physical. So I see why people really like it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tactics angles. So I guess if you're like you're really into it, you can have a lot of debates and shit about like, oh, they shouldn't have ran that play or they should have done this. So there's definitely cool elements. Anyways, we should talk back about RuneScape. So vote for your favorites. Make sure you listen to that thing if you have time. Like listen to the 2-hour thing. Dills will like link it maybe in the description or something to the audio version. It's cool to see where the devs are coming from.
If it's not in the description, come to the Discord. I have to see how possible.
Make sure you get your vote in too for your favorite of the three. And I can't wait. Can't wait for the next step, Dills.
Yeah, I'm quite excited as well. We had actually two more messages real quick though. One comes from McNasty talking about my rut that I was in, the funk as well. And he had mentioned that he was in the same position as I was a few years ago until he got into RuneScape 3 and has been having a blast. And RuneScape 3 has sucked him in completely because it's just a unique experience. I think I mentioned last week that I was playing a little bit of RuneScape 3. I might play a little bit more, but one thing that I did have fun this week doing was some Darok PKing on my main. I lost 25 mil within like 30 minutes of gameplay, but it was a rush of a time. So I might do a little bit more of that, but I have thought about booting up some more RuneScape 3 on my iron. And then last one from Bert Macklin says, have you thought about maxing? And I have thought about maxing. My problem was a lot of the skills I'm at are boring. Construction, it's fast, but it is boring. Mining, boring. Smithing, very boring. So maxing is no longer something I'm working towards. It's just, we're not there yet. Plus new skills coming out. No time for that. Anyways, that is it for us. So let me run through the quick housekeeping. If you want to join our clan, it is Clan Wild. We're kind of full, but you can come hang out as a guest. And when space clears up, you could definitely join. We have hit our capacity, unfortunately, but there is still room for guests. So Clan Wild is where you can do that. The Discord server is discord.gg/the wilderness. If you want to get involved with bingo, bingo is this week. Happens a few times a year, so keep an eye out. You'll have to join Discord for that. So a big turnout this year, and a lot of people have been really having fun. We have our email is thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. You don't have to call in. You can send an email instead. And you can just shoot a message on Discord as well. That's where McNasty and Bert Macklin came from, just right off Discord. Question of the week. Just what skills do you like? What skills don't you like? Just send us a call or a message about the new skills in general. Heartless, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Nope. Good luck. I would say come join the Discord and the clan, but like you said, clan is full. We've done such a good job of promoting it, Dills. We filled right up, but that doesn't mean there isn't space. We'll, there's gonna be like
we do clear outs like once or twice a month.
We do clear lists. There's gonna be like probably implement some kind of new system where there's like a wait list and stuff. Yeah, there'll be time to get in.
It will be a good time. All right. Do you have a song you want to pitch? I have one pulled up here in case you don't.
No, you do it.
Okay, let's do Wonder. This is found in the Wilderness Agility course dungeon, and can also be found in the Goblin Village near the Wilderness. Wonder, because we're going to be wondering what skill passes. All right, Big Brother's about to start, which means we have to roll. Thanks everyone for listening. It was fun. Heartless, I'm excited to see what skill comes out.
Me too, man. I honestly, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, we're a little far from that, but we'll be talking about the new skill in more details before we actually start seeing it come closer to the game. So that'll be fun. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Take care.